Yeah. Yeah, I know. It just means I have to wait an extra hour to have a glass of wine on Thursday night. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to have to go, and I've got to join some friends for drinks. Bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Oh, it's not a great resolution at the moment, so I hope that it's okay where you guys are. Welcome to 6 o'clock drinks with Kate on a Thursday. Is everyone gasping for a glass of wine now? It's a bit hard we've got this unable to connect to chat, please try again later thing, and I am not going to do what we did last time and unconnect and reconnect. So let me just, yeah. Hey, Jeff, if you're out there, I think you're going to have to relay chat to me via text message. I do have my phone here, so you can text me. And those of you who are here for a bit of a live chat, it's very annoying that it doesn't want to work. Yeah, no, I don't think there's very much I can do to fix that. But anyway, I think we'll soldier on, because I think probably a lot of you have had a long and get offline. Jeff, if I get offline now, we're going to have the same problem that we had last time. Really? You think? I know you're all seeing the chat. I'm just not seeing the chat. So any chat that you guys are doing, I'm not going to be able to respond to. So, Jeff, it's your job to read the chat and text it to me. Sorry about that, everyone. Sorry, Jeff. I know that's not going to be real fun, but anyway, we'll get there. Welcome to 6 o'clock drinks with Kate. Let's have a glass of wine while we settle into this. So, how is everyone today? I have no idea, because I'm not getting any chat back, but that's all right. I hope you're all well. I hope you all had a lovely commute home from work, and that you're all settled down with whatever snacks you've managed to rustle up. I'd let you go freelance this week, so I hope that wasn't too stressful for people. But I figured we've tasted a few Chardonnays together now. I think maybe you were starting to get the hang of what goes with what and how it all works. You know, if you've ordered in some fish and chips, fantastic. If you've got some freshly shucked oysters, awesome. If you've got some prawns from the fish shop, cooked prawns, or from the supermarket, that's great. Bit of Gruyere always goes well with Chardonnay. I think it's even better with older Chardonnay, but this little young gun that we've got tonight is the 2017 Moorooduc Estate Chardonnay. Now, this is a very new release, and we're going to be doing a few of these over the next few weeks, some new releases of wines that we've already tasted. So different vintages, same grape makeup. What's Jeff sending me? Attachments with images. Oh, that looks delicious. Yeah, Jeff's lovely spread going on there, which is great. It looks like there's some Gruyere there. So I'm going to crack this bottle and get some wine in the glass. I am using my Pinot Noir glass again because it's a young Chardonnay and I want it to open up quite quickly in the glass. You could, if you wanted to, decant this wine just to get some air into it before you put it into the wine glass, but I'm too eager to have a taste to muck around with decanting tonight. It's been a very strange week. For those of us in Melbourne, we're all a bit rattled, I think, by the fact that we've had extra testing, and that's come up with a whole lot of new cases of COVID-19, which is not what we wanted. We thought we were on the road to being rid of it forever, or at least in our local area. So it's a little bit stressful for any of you who I'm talking to who might be newly re-locked down. I'm really sorry. I hope you've got some good wine and some good food to keep you company. Lockdown's not fun, but we can make the most of it by looking after ourselves and eating good food, drinking good wine, not too much, just the right amount. So tonight we're going to have this lovely Chardonnay. And this is kind of, I think, the antithesis of the Pinot Gris that we had last week. It's a new release. We've actually not quite started selling it at Cellar Door. We're just getting to the end of the 2016. So if you're a huge fan of the 2016 Estate Chardonnay and you wanted to stock up before it sells out, now is the time to order a case or two of the 2016 Moorooduc Estate Chardonnay, because we've got a little bit of it left, but it's going quickly. And the 17, we've talked a little bit about the vintage, but more in the context of Pinot Noir than Chardonnay. So let's talk about it in the context of Chardonnay. We did talk a little bit about how in 17 we had some difficult weather during flowering and fruit set. Lots of rain, wind, a little bit of hail, I seem to remember. It wasn't great, but it ended up being okay, because what happened was that we got a smaller amount of fruit setting because of less successful flowering and fruit set during that weather. And we had smaller bunches, and we had some bunches that had what we call here in Australia hen and chicken. It means it's a gorgeous. I really love the description hen and chicken, because it's exactly what it sounds like. You've got big and little berries in the same bunch, and the big berries are the ones that have been properly fertilized, and you've got 2 pips in them, and that's what all the grapes should be. The little ones have been inadequately fertilized and have either 1 or no pips in them. They're smaller, they still have some juice and some flesh in there, and they tend to ripen a little faster than the bigger grapes. So in a year where we have hen and chicken, we have uneven ripening in the bunches, which means that it takes a little bit more skill on the behalf of the grape growers, our viticulturists, and that's kind of down to Hugh Robinson, who owns the Robinson Vineyard, and his team, but also very much something that we're involved with, particularly Jeremy and Richard, who go walking in the vineyards and sampling the fruit as it's ripening. And when we're doing grape samples, it's very low tech, getting the juice out of the grapes. We basically pick a number of bunches from across the vineyard so that we're getting a good sample of how the whole vineyard is ripening, not just one section of it. And we'll bring them back to the winery, and we actually squash them by hand through a sieve, get the juice out, and we have to really crush them up as much as we can so that we get the juice out of all of the berries, the little ones and the big ones. And then we take the juice into the laboratory, and we have a little machine that we can put a drop of juice in, and it tells us what the sugar level is, which is very useful, because then you know what the potential alcohol is going to be, and you have an idea of where you want that to sit when the grapes are being picked. We can also do a titration to check the pH so that we know where that's at, and we also, most importantly, taste the juice. And year in, year out, tasting the juice, it's quite a difficult thing to do, because grape juice, when it's ready to be made into wine, is incredibly sweet, has a huge amount of sugar, and you have to be able to taste past that sugar. And that's a skill that you develop over time. But when you get the right flavours, it can be really exciting. And in 2017, we had a smaller crop, we had that uneven ripening, but we had beautiful flavours in the wine. The Chardonnays had incredible citrus fruit. They had, thanks, Jeff. Jeff says everyone's saying hello, including Kieran. Hi, Kieran. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I can't see your comments today. We'll see if we can work out why this is happening. I have a feeling it's probably just bad internet in our part of the world, but it's very frustrating. Thank you. Excellent. Oh, Angela. Oh, that looks nice. Lots of cheese. Lots of cheese for Angela and her friends tonight. Looks fabulous. So what was I saying? Chardonnay flavours, Chardonnay juice flavours, lots of sugar, very sweet. But if it's really good quality Chardonnay, then you get some of those flavours that you want to see in the wine. You get that lovely lemon and grapefruit character coming through. You get those peachy characters coming through. And what's really beautiful in really good Chardonnay juice is, even though it's very sweet, it's got this beautiful line of acid that just kind of pulls it all together and makes it travel down your tongue and down your throat. And you can really feel the acid making your mouth water as you swallow or spit the juice out. And you know then that you've got something that's pretty special and pretty good. And when the numbers from the tests, as well as the flavour profile from actually testing it with our palates, match up, that's when we know we've got a potentially, as long as we don't stuff things up along the way, a potentially really exciting year. And in 2017, the flavours were beautiful. So let's have a little smell. It's quite closed. So yes, if you have decanted this wine, or if you're tempted to, then please feel free to toddle over and grab a decanter or a jug and chuck the rest of the bottle in there. That will help to let it open up. But it's quite a tight and fine wine, and it's one of the reasons a lot of people say to me, wow, 17, that's not really a new release, is it? I mean, that wine's already 3 years old. But for us, we find that because of the way we make the wine, we take a little bit more time in letting it find its own balance in the barrel. We let it ferment in its own time. We don't force it to go through fermentation. We allow the natural yeast to do that. We want the wine to find its balance and find its readiness to drink in time. And we think that usually about 3 years after we picked the grapes and started making the wine, is usually a really good time to start tasting this wine. Earlier on, and you get these kind of really perfumey esters. And esters are aromatic characters that you get from grapes and from ferment. And Chardonnay, when it's really young, it gets this really kind of perfumey, estery character, which I really don't like. So it takes a little while for that to settle down and for the real smells and the real flavours of the wine to come out. I'm getting on the nose, Jeff, you're not doing a very good job of passing on comments. Are people not making any comments? So just listening and drinking and enjoying each other's company. There's Polly. That's one of the problems of having our drinks an hour later. It's dark outside. The dogs have been for a walk. They've had their dinner and now they're ready to have a little bit more of a play. Anyway. Oh, thank you, Jeff. Here we go. Kay, hello. Nicholas, hi. Lovely to see you. Thanks, Angelo. Noticed I had a haircut. I've had my first haircut since lockdown. That was very exciting, a little bit scary. Yes, I knew that was you, Angela, even though it says Simon Hall. Oh, John Dart says hi. Hi, John. John's in London. Hello, John Dart and the Dart family. Lovely to see you all. And the McFalls are here. Craig is here. Hello. Kieran, good morning. John Dart, awesome. Good to see you. And Rob's here. Rob and Deb are here as well. Great. Excellent. Please, if you've got any questions, then do put them up and Jeff will flick them through to me, I'm sure. So 2017 Chardonnay. We will get to tasting this wine in a moment, I'm sure. I'm all over the place tonight. It's a change of time, jet lag, something like that. So for me, this wine has got a really lovely aromatic. It's quite tight, as I said before. It's lemon rind. There's a little bit of pink grapefruit there. More the rind of the pink grapefruit rather than the flesh again. There's some lovely white nectarine aromatics as well, but they're very restrained. And there's a savoury, almost sort of biscuity, slightly salty character that I think is very intriguing. As the wine opens up, we're getting a little bit more of the fruit and the salty character is receding a little bit, but it just adds a bit of savouriness and a bit of texture to what could be just a very fruity wine. There's some other things going on there. Let's have a little taste. And you can see immediately on the palate, this wine is very, as I said, very tight, very lemony, very citrusy at the moment. It's almost, you know, when you buy a nectarine, it's not quite ripe and you bite into it and it's yummy, but it's a bit too acidic and it's a bit crunchy. It's got that kind of crunchy nectarine kind of a flavour to it. The acid is beautiful. It's very, it just kind of surrounds all of the flavours and it's making my mouth water. I'm very jealous of you people with your food in front of you. Of course, I don't have any food because I have to talk, can't eat. Aaron and Claire, hi, lovely to see you. on the palate, there's a really nice length to this wine. As I say, it's not big and boisterous like that Pinot Gris from 2013 that we drank last week, because it hasn't had the time in the bottle to evolve. And also our Chardonnays are always a little, Chardonnay naturally is higher in acid. It's a little bit more linear in its shape. Pinot Gris kind of has a bit more pillowiness and richness on the edges of the wine. So I think there's a really lovely juxtaposition of that lemony, citrusy acidity, the crunchy nectarines. There is a saltiness on the finish, which we're not really sure where that comes from, but we always see it in our Chardonnays. The Estate Chardonnay, which has got about 80% fruit from the McIntyre vineyard, which is just out in front of me here, and also the McIntyre Chardonnay. And you could say maybe it's because these vines are not irrigated. The soil is very sandy topsoil on sandy clay, and the sandy clay has a lot of veins of soil that go a long way down. So the vines can actually put their roots deep, deep down, and they can find their own groundwater. So we don't have to irrigate the vines. Even in the really hot drought-stricken summers, the vines look incredibly healthy and green and very happy growing where they're growing. So they're not under very much water stress at all. And you could theorise that perhaps because we're close to the sea and because we do have a salinity issue in Australia in our groundwater, the vines might be picking up a little bit of salt through their roots. A lot of people say that that's fanciful, that can't happen, and I'm not I'm not a vine physiology expert, so I would not attempt to say whether or not that was true. But there is definitely a salty character that we get from Chardonnay from this part of the world, and particularly from this site, which might just be all of the things that come together. It might have something to do with the soil. It might just be a character that presents itself in these wines that make us think of saltiness and make us think of all of these things. So a lot of these things are, I speak to a lot of particularly English wine experts, and they say, well, when you talk about minerality, then you're just talking about acidity. And I don't quite agree with that. I think that when I talk about minerality, I'm talking about aromas and flavours that are not animal, vegetable, or fruit. So it doesn't smell like meat or dairy or cheese. It doesn't smell like vegetables, doesn't smell like fruit. There's something else there. And so I think that when we talk about minerality in wine, we should be more specific. So for me, the mineral that I'm seeing here most is saltiness. Some other wines you'll get an aroma and a flavour that is reminiscent of, some people will know exactly what I'm talking about, and some people will totally draw a blank on this descriptor. But if you've ever been hiking up in the mountains and it's a warm day and you go and you find a pristine stream and you have a sip of water from the stream and it's freezing cold, but it tastes as though it tastes like there's pebbles, it tastes like stone, it doesn't taste like dirt, because dirty water tastes different again. It's a mineral character. It's very hard to describe. If you want to go around licking stones, by all means do that. I think, I talk about Sangiovese with my wine students, and I talk about a tannin that is very reminiscent of terracotta dust. And if you've ever been sort of in a hot Italian courtyard with lots of terracotta pots around, and the hot wind blows, and there's a red dust blowing around, and you get a bit of that terracotta dust on your tongue. It's very drying, and it's got this sort of ferrous kind of character to it, which is really hard to describe any other way. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about minerality. That's what I mean when I'm talking about sort of saltiness. If it doesn't make any sense to you and you think I'm talking rubbish, then just ignore that bit and have another sip of wine and enjoy and relax, because it is Thursday evening. I've got Polly sitting next to me gazing up at me. I wish I had an elevated seat so that she could come and sit up and talk to us. Polly, do you want to say hello to people? Say hi. Polly, say hi. Say hi. No, that didn't work at all. Anyway, she's here. She thinks this is all very silly, but she's pleased that I have some friends somewhere in the world. Margaret says yes and get citrus and lemon. I think it's very lemony, this wine at the moment, and it will evolve. That was one of the reasons that when I did finally give you some food suggestions, I do think that seafood's going to work really, really well with this wine. But if you've got a bit of a chicken sandwich, or you've got a bit of chicken terrine, or a bit of pate, all of those things are going to work really nicely with this wine because it's just a very food-friendly wine. I hope everyone's feeling, you know, a little bit more relaxed, getting together at 6 o'clock. You didn't have to rush in to be here at 5. Jeff's just sent me a screenshot of the chat again. Let me see. Michelle. Jeff and Arvin, what are you having for dinner? Cheese platter. Shell is drinking this with sourdough topped with trout. You can all read this probably. Trout pate, smoked salmon, salted potato chips, and delicious. Perfect. Craig, it goes well with the blue cheese. Look, I think that's really interesting, and I think that blue cheese is a really hard thing to match to wine. And I'll often say blue cheese with a sweeter wine, something like a Sauterne or a Tokai from Hungary. We should taste some international wines together sometime. Gee, that'd take a bit of organising, wouldn't it? Me getting that box together. But you know, who knows? We could do that one time. But I do think that this wine could work quite well with blue cheese because it's got good acidity and good flavour, but it's not overwhelming. It's not going to fight with the blue cheese too much. It's going to let that saltiness, and it depends what sort of blue cheese you're eating as well, Craig. What else? Kay. Aged cheddar, cold barbecue chicken, perfect. You know, if you haven't decided on what you're going to eat with the rest of this bottle of wine, I'd highly recommend getting in some fish and chips, or perhaps a nice white pizza, a bit of pizza with some potatoes, some rosemary's on top, a bit of taleggio maybe. That'd be rather yummy. Anyway, that's enough food talk. Let's talk about, well, actually, it's not enough food talk because I do want to say to you guys, all of you who sent me pictures of both the food that you cooked for last week and the stars of the show who featured in our little mail out this morning, or it was the afternoon actually by the time I sent it, with pictures of not only their food and their wine, but me in the background on your tablets or your computers. We had a cat in one of the pictures. Thank you, Shell. That was absolutely delightful. We had a dog as well. Craig, that was lovely to see your dog's schnoz in that picture. That was really, really gorgeous. I've just been overwhelmed with the beautiful work that you all did. So we're going to have a little judging of that photo competition tomorrow morning when I can get Jill and Richard in the room together, and we'll make a decision about who deserves a prize, and we'll get those sent out next week for you. So thank you so much for cooking up a storm, you guys. It was amazing. I'm so glad that you enjoyed that unusual Pinot Gris last week. I hope that you're enjoying the 2017 Estate Chardonnay. It is a little bit of a baby. But the thing I think is really interesting, this has got 20% new oak, and the oak is not showing up at all in this wine. It's just swallowed it, which is what we want to see. Oak is about giving a little bit of structure, a little bit of backup spice to the wine, but you don't want the oak to be obvious, because if the oak overwhelms the fruit, what's the point of growing beautiful fruit and making wine that tastes of that vineyard and that fruit? It doesn't make sense at all to swamp it with oak. So we use really good quality French oak, but we don't use too much. It's just a little spice to the main dish, which is the Chardonnay. Arvin, I'd love to host one there, if you like, when we're traveling around again. I'm also a bit glum at the moment because my Qantas flight to the UK and Italy in October, which I knew was going to get cancelled, got cancelled last week. So not that being at Moorooduc is a terrible thing, but I was quite looking forward to that trip. So I'm hoping that I might be able to do it next year. I'm hoping that we'll be all back to normal again. But whatever happens, do you know what? I'd love to do this tasting wherever I am in the world for 6 o'clock on Thursday, Australia time. I think that's going to be my challenge when things start opening up and when we have a chance to kind of move around. Penny, I also miss the 5 p.m. time slot because of the sunset, although I got to see the sunset while walking the dogs today, so that was quite nice. I think that'd be really fun. Anyway, guys, I think I've rabbited on enough for tonight about this wine. It's still opening up. It's still changing in the glass, and now I'm getting more of the grapefruit coming through. I'm getting a little bit more biscuity, almost sourdough toast, sourdough crust toast. There's a lovely toasty character there. It's really delicious. Penny, I love drinking with you as well. I think I love drinking with all of you guys, and it's really a very special time of my week working towards drinks with you guys on a Thursday night. So here's to us. Next week, we're going to be looking at another new release. Now, this is very special and exciting. We are going, let me just make sure that I get my story correct because I wrote myself a note. Yes, the 2018 Moorooduc Estate Robinson Pinot Noir. Now, we just released this at Cellar Door virtually to our wine club less than a month ago. On Queen's birthday weekend, we did a virtual tasting for the wine club. We made that available to them. The wine clubs had their first dibs at it. And now I think, because I kind of see you guys, whether you're in the wine club already or not, and I will talk about that in a minute, I see you all as being, Craig says his still's always open for a remote tasting. Craig, I'll be there. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'll be there. You'll rue the day you offered it. But the 2018 Robinson Pinot next week. Again, what I would suggest next week, make sure that you have your Pinot glasses or something similar. If you've got time, 15 minutes before we start, you might want to open it. You might want to give it a bit of a decant because it is quite tight still. I know a lot of people don't believe in decanting Pinot Noir, and if you don't believe in decanting Pinot Noir, then don't do it. That's fine. Deb, I'm so glad you've done your meditation. I like to do my yoga before I have my first glass of wine in the evening as well. Sometimes it's very good. You feel virtuous and then you feel happy with your glass of wine as well. So yeah, the Robinson Pinot Noir 2018. And we've got a 2010 Robinson Pinot Noir that we're going to be tasting in 5-6 weeks time at the end of this box. So it's all about kind of seeing how these things age, how these things evolve. I'm really enjoying dipping back into the museum with you guys as well as tasting the new release things. I think it's really terrific. I've had a couple of people email me about the wine club. The wine club's really easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through. I've got records of all of the deliveries that I've done to the regulars who have been joining in the wine tasting over the last however many weeks we've been doing it, 12 weeks now, whatever, 13. And I'll just check and make sure if you've already qualified for the wine club, we'll send you a little email and just make sure that you want to sign up. But basically the wine club, you need to buy 6 bottles of a single vineyard wine and commit to that on an annual basis. So 6 bottles every year. A new vintage comes out and we offer to send you the next 6 bottles, or a dozen of the estate wine. And again, it's an annual commitment. It gets you access to a little private part of the website where you've got access to buying back vintage wines. When we're not under lockdown anymore and we can open things up a little bit more, then we'll be having some wine club exclusive events here at Moorooduc Estate where we often do vertical tastings of a certain wine. So for example, the Robinson Pinot Noir, we might taste 6 different vintages together, sat around a table and talk about that, maybe have some food that Jill's cooked for us, all of those sort of things. We're looking forward to reinitiating all of that sometime in the near future, hopefully. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you guys here on a Thursday night at 6 o'clock and drinking some delicious wine with you on a regular basis. So cheers, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't see the chat. Thank you, Jeff, for doing such a great job relaying everyone's messages. If there's last minute chat, then I'm probably going to miss it because I'm going to say cheers, everyone. Have a lovely evening. And I'll see you all again next week. Oh, I've lost my off button. Cheers.